All right, ladies and gentlemen, my beloved student, focus. I say believe. I say believe. Hello, hello, hello. What you doing there? What you doing? Mess. No, keep up that. Keep it up. Put it somewhere. Focus. Right? You see, before we start, as usual, we need to give gratitude to God. Right? It's always important that we thank God for everything because there is nothing we can achieve without God. You see, when you look at the Bible, listen, guys, what I'm going to tell you this morning is something great. When you look at the Bible, even Jesus Christ himself, before he did anything or before anything he performed, he gives thanks, right? So we as individual people created by God, we must learn how to give gratitude to God. Even if you are praying for something and that thing is not yet given to you, or you need to tell God that I trust you. I know that this thing I'm praying for, I'm gonna get it. Right. So that is why every day I like us to start by giving gratitude. Because we are here today, we are healthy, we're not sick, we're in good form. So with that alone, we need to be appreciated. We need to really appreciate. So, and moreover, we need to commit what we are going to do today into the hands of God to provide us the wisdom for us to be able to understand. Right? Okay, guys, don't worry about this because you haven't started applying for a job, right? Have you started? You started. So you know Z83. You know what is Z83? What is this now? Why so many stuff are coming forth here now? Okay, let me just put this one here on the screen. Okay, guys, remember what we're doing, right? Huh? Have you started micro? Yeah, I think it's on. Okay, thanks for reminding me. I love it. Right. Tells me that you are interested in what I'm doing and gives me a kind of motivation. Right. Yeah. So, guys, remember where we started. This is the last topic for the year. I'm happy the rate we are moving. We are moving at a very good rate, and the progress is good. So we are not lagging behind. We are on schedule, right? So we've started with the planning, right? We talk about planning, the essentiality of planning. When I say the essentiality, the important components or the characteristics of a good plan, right? Whereby we talk about flexibility and what else again? We talk about reality, right? Realistic, that your plan must be realistic. Then we talk about the steps that you need to take when you plan. And we always still talk about the short term, the long term, and the medium term plan. That thing can come out in the exam. If they ask you to write a short note about short, for example, long term, medium term, and short term plan, you should be able to explain. And the steps you need to take for you to be able to formulate a good plan. We talked about that. Then we talk about the action plan. What? Yes. Then setting entrepreneurial goals. We talk about that, the vision, the mission, and whatever, the strategy. Then we talk about, I explain certain concept to you, for such as mentoring, right? You know how to mentor somebody that got more experience than you, right? Can coach you in terms of how you need to do something, somebody with more experience. Then we talk about mentoring, then delegation, right? You know how to delegate. Delegation means assigning task and responsibility to somebody, right? We talked about that. Then time management. I think in this class I haven't discussed about that. Time management. You know what is time management? You see, time on its own is an essential resource, right? And by virtue of it, is limited. Time is limited, right? For example, somebody you got born today, you spend. There is nobody that have lived up to at this present time up to 120 years. Nobody, right? But when you see time on its own, some people think that time is unlimited. It's not unlimited. It's very limited because before you know, things happen within a short space of time. For example, you started here last year, right? Before you know, your program is finished and you need to move on, right? If time was to be unlimited, there will be no value, right? You see, anything that is limited, it commands a high value. For example, like money. You see, money, it's limited. That is why there is value for it. You work hard, you put in all your effort, no matter how it takes for you to earn that money. It's the same thing with time, right? So people, they are fond of not using their time well, right? Like what I always say, everything have got its own time. For example, you see your stage now, the stage you are. For you, you are at this stage where you need to acquire skill and knowledge for you to be able to stand on your own. And if by this time, after 3 years, you are not able to make it now. You've grown to another stage that for you to wind back the time, it becomes difficult. Can you wind back the time? Can you tell the clock, please stop for me? I'm coming. I haven't done this. No, you can't do that. It goes like what we explained before. The wave, the tidal wave, it goes. It doesn't wait for anybody. But the good news is you must learn how to manage time, right? You must learn how to optimize, right? Optimize your time. You must learn how to leverage the opportunity provided or the opportunity before you to optimize the usage of time, right? Okay. So there's one disease, and let me call it disease, a thief that steals our time. I call it, it's a thief, a robber. That is procrastination. So people, they procrastinate a lot. And that is the thief that is stealing your time. What you need to do, or what you're supposed to do now, is say, I'm going to do it later. Right? Many people are fond of that. Right? That thing is not good. It kills time. And when it's time to do that now, for example, this is what I always tell students. You as a student, you know what is the meaning of student? Someone that study every time. That is why they gave you that name, student. People that study every time, right? Okay. Most of you, you know what happened? You are all very brilliant. You are clever. But most of you are fond of that tendency of procrastinating your study. Some of you wait till a few days before the exam, before you open your book, right? You tell me, no matter how magnetic your brain is, how are you going to capture everything? You can capture, but it will not sink into your memory. It will not sit in your memory, right? But if you are somebody that study every time, you discover that you can easily remember. That is why sometimes some people experience what we call, they say, my brain is blank, I cannot remember. How many of you have experienced that before? Yeah. Yeah. You see, you know why? It's not because you are not brilliant or you didn't study, because that thing has this sat really position itself in your brain. You see, when I was like you know how I used to study? I study every day, right? So the first one, there is what we call, did you have you studied backup in the computer? Backup. They got what we call full backup and differential backup, right? I always advise people to practice what we call a full backup. What it means is this. Let's say today you've given a note, right? When you get home, you study it, right? Now, the following day, you got another note in addition to the one of yesterday. By the time you want to study, don't just study the one for yesterday, for the one for today. You go back, you do a step of reflection, right? Then the third day, when you want to start studying for the third day, you go back again to day one, day two, day three. Then day four, you go back again. Day one, day two, day three, day four. That day one that you've studied already will go down, will sit in your memory. You see, so when you want to start now, you just reflect on day one, day two, right? So when you start practicing that, you see that after a few days to the exam, you don't need to study a lot. You just sit down and press your memory record, right? Then you record, you just keep yourself quiet and start reflecting on day one, day two, day three, day four, day five, day six. Then you're okay. You go and write your exam. Your brain will not be blank, right? Because it has already seated in a nice position in your brain. We call it subconscious mind. Subconscious, right? It has been registered in your subconscious mind that you cannot forget. For example, your name now. If somebody asks you about your name, say, what is your name? Did you think twice to respond? Can you ever forget your name? You can't forget because your name is already seated in your subconscious mind. So that is how people that get A's, distinctions in the exam, that is how whatever they study is already in their subconscious mind. You can never forget. You see, why some other people like to procrastinate? They say, I will study 3 days to the exam. You see what I'm telling you now? Personally, I've experienced this, right? Both ways. Doing the right one and the one for procrastination. I remember those days when I was at varsity. I was young like you guys, right? I used to memorize. I memorize a lot. So I was doing the right one, what I supposed to do, right? But it came to a point now that I became distracted. You know what happened? When I want to study, my mind said, don't worry, you're going to do it later. You see what I mean? You're going to study it later. And when it is few days to the exam, then I take the book like this. Sometimes I become tired. I will still postpone it. Do you understand? So at the end of the day, what happened? My result was not good. I had it. Poor result. But later I realized that no, this type of result is not me. I have to go back to my old system. Right? So that is what we call procrastination. So procrastination is the thief of time. Don't allow yourself to be disturbed or to be your progress or your achievement to be affected by procrastination. So what you need to do, or what are the things that you need to do in order for you to be able to manage time? There is what we call to-do list. Is the period over? Hold on. I was getting worried, right? Because today is a food day. The food day is not a half day. So there is what we call to-do list. To-do list. How many of you have done that before? You know what is to-do list? Right. So that thing is very important. It will help you to manage your time, right? And when you are compiling it can as well help you not to forget things. For example, I remember those days when I'm going to buy things, then my wife used to give me list of things to buy, right? So that I would not omit anything. The same thing, that is why you see most of these big guys, they got PA, PA, personal assistant, that is taking down appointment for them, So to-do list is very important. And when you are compiling your to-do list, you must learn how to prioritize. Prioritize. Priority. You know what we mean by priority? You do the ones that are most urgent, right? Perhaps the ones that are most important and urgent. Right. Who is this? Focus. There are certain things that are, for example, important, urgent. There are some that are important but not urgent. There are some that are not important but urgent. You see what I mean? So you must learn how to prioritize. That is what we are trying to say. Then you must learn how to draw a task list, right? A task list is kind of a list that stipulates or that detail out what needs to be done. In the exam, they can ask you, they say, what is a task list? Right? Or formulate a task list. So what I'm trying to say is when you are formulating a task list, the most important thing you need to take note of is the prioritization. Do the one that is most important and urgent. Right. So there are certain steps that you need to, for example, if you are brushing your teeth now, right? To have to brush teeth. It must be in steps, it must be in sequence, right? You take the toothpaste, you first of all clean your toothpaste. I know most of you, you brush your teeth without even first cleaning the toothpaste. Not the toothpaste, the brush. Some of you, you just pick the brush and put your paste and start brushing like this. Huh? The first thing is you must wash the brush. Sometimes the brush could be dirty, right? You first of all wash the brush. Then what you do, you take the paste, right? Then you open it. Then you put it in the brush. Then you brush your teeth. Then when you finish, you wash your brush, right? It's still serious. When you are making your task list, it should be like that as well. It must be in accordance to the way the task list to be performed. Does it make sense to you? Right. Okay. Now we are going to talk about prioritization. We are going to talk about diary. Diary. You know what is a diary? What is a diary? Yeah, I'm happy. You understand what I'm talking about, right? Right. Why do you need a diary? To keep that for you to be able to plan your activities or your task, right? Do you have a diary? Were you given a diary? The college, the college provided you a diary. And if I ask you now, how many people have or making use of the diary? You do, right? Okay. A lot of people here, their diaries, they throw it away. Some cannot even find it. Hello, were you given a diary? Huh? You were not given. Why? You were not in the class when they were giving it out. Okay. Yeah, back in schools, you are correct. You see, they are giving you that so that you can be able to know the dates of your homework and when to submit and all those type of stuff. Right. Okay. So that is what we are talking about here. You can use a diary to plan your activities. You can use it to plan in terms of what you're going to achieve and the time. You use it to schedule. Let me use that language. You can use it to schedule tasks that you need to do. Right. Then we get there is what we call year planner. There is for you to plan your daily activities. Right? Then we got year planner. You use that one to plan for things that you're gonna do in the year, right? For example, at the college here, we got a year planner. We use it to plan your assessment, your date of assessment, and all those type of stuff. So you need to know that. You got different types of diary. Like I said, we got electronic diaries, electronics, right? You got a desktop diary. There used to be a kind of a diary those days when you go to the office of the directors, the big guys. You see it on the table like this. So they use it to plan their activities. How many of you have seen that type of diary I'm talking about on the desktop? You haven't seen that. When you go to construction site, you will see it. Project managers, they've got it on their table. But you see, the world is getting revolutionized. You don't, it's not all people are making use of a hard copy diary these days. They use the electronics one, right? You got the one on your cell phone, on personal computer, on laptop, yeah? For example, now, if you have a meeting, you can schedule it here. Even the way the PC is designed now, the software, it can help you to put it in the diary and they can even send you a reminder to tell you that, hey, your meeting is starting in 30 minutes time. You know, those kind of stuff, right? Because things are getting there much more advanced, right? So there are certain concepts I want to introduce to you as well too during the course of this lesson or during the course of this topic. I've talked about how to prioritize. How do you pronounce it? Prioritize. Okay. Then we need to know about time frames. Time frames. For example, you'll be given a task, right? Then you say, sir, when do you want this task back? I say, I want you to submit your asset in 2 weeks' time. That is the time frame from now to that time. And that 2 weeks' time, perhaps I've given you a date in which you need to submit your task. So that date is the deadline, right? So we must be able to stick to deadlines. Make sure that whatever task you've been given or you've been assigned to do, you must comply. So then now you know what is prioritizing, you know what is time frame, and then the deadlines, right? So work schedule. Work schedule is, what do we mean by work schedule? Work schedule is like a roster. You know what is a roster? So when you are scheduling a work, you need to first of all identify what needs to be done, and also put the names of people that needs to do the job, then the time they need to complete it and the deadline, then those things must be captured in the work schedule, right? So that is how work schedule works. So what is the benefit of having a work schedule? The benefit, right? What are the benefits? The benefits. Because if you don't have a work schedule, for example, you might not be able to meet up the deadline, right? Because you need a work schedule for you to allocate tasks to people, to employees, right? Then it helps the employee to know what they need to do. So those are some of the importance of a work schedule. One, it helps you to be able to allocate tasks to employees. Then it helps even the employees to know what to do, right? And when they need to do perform such task, it helps them to know the deadlines as well. It can even help you to monitor the progress of the work. So those are some of the benefits of a work schedule. Right. How many minutes remaining now? How many minutes remaining? Because I think essentially this is what you need to know because this topic is very short, right? Okay, let me try to recap in terms of what we've learned. Eh? 20. Okay. So let me try to recap what we've learned in this topic, right? We've learned how to plan. right? What planning is. We've learned the characteristics of a good plan, right? We've learned different planning whereby we talk about the short term, the medium term, right? And what? You. Short term, medium term, and what? Long term, right? We talk about that. Then we talk about the steps that you need to take while you are planning. Then we talk about the task list, which is very important, right? Then we talk about how you need to manage time, management of time. We talk about why you need to avoid procrastination, right? We talk about procrastination. Then we talk about different diaries, how you need to use a diary to manage your time. Then we talk about schedule. So, guys, on a more serious note, this is gonna come out in your exam because it's the last topic. If you can be able to pick up past question papers on entrepreneurship, these things are always there. Most especially task list is there, the schedule gonna be there, and some of this stuff that I'm talking about. Right. So that is how it is, and that is the end of the topic that you need to do or need to know about as far as this year is concerned. Right. So what we're gonna be doing is revision, past question papers. When we come to the class here, we're gonna be doing past question papers. And another thing I want to emphasize again is your eyesight. I see some people are struggling. I don't know whether you don't understand the eyesight. How many of you are struggling here that doesn't understand the eyesight? Do you know what to do? Hello, do you know what to do? The eyesight, do you understand it? Kind of. Were you not here when I was explaining it? Okay. Guys, the eyesight is simple. I said you must go out and identify three businesses. Then you ask, there are certain things you need to ask the business owner. Is there? Because I remember last year, some of the students you struggle. I've explained to you, then you got a YouTube channel as well for you to watch, understand what the asset is all about, what you need to do. Go to your community and look for three businesses, three business owners. Then you interview them. Then after that, you choose one business idea of your own. Then you do a survey, right? That survey, what is it all about? Is for you to establish if that your business idea will be viable or profitable, as you may like it, right? Check whether it is profitable. And to design a questionnaire is easy. You've done that before. You design a questionnaire, right? A questionnaire, how do you design it? First of all, you give instruction. What do you say? Start with what the questionnaire is all about. Right? Because the person responding to the questionnaire must, they would like to know what the questionnaire is all about. Why are you giving them papers? They want to see there. First of all, say this question, the purpose of this questionnaire is this. Then you must write politely, say the person, please can you please help me? You give instructions, right? Then the first session is session A, where you have to request for personal details. We call it demographic details, right? Or biographic details, if you will. Then when you finish now, you start asking the questions. Then I say the type of questions you need to ask. Some should be open questions, and others should be closed questions. Then I explain to you what is an open question. These are type of questions that you allow the respondent to express his or her opinion, right? Okay. Then close question, I said that one is whereby you give perhaps options or yes or no, right? Will you be interested in buying a pancake? Yeah, I don't want to talk about makunya again. Come on. Magoya is getting too much. It's too common, right? Okay. Let's say pancake. You know pancake, right? Will you be interested in buying pancake? That is yes or no. That is a closed question, right? Because what is the recipe that you would like me to include in the pancake, or what type of yeah, in the menu? Then you can give options. Maybe you give options. If you don't give options, then you allow the respondent to specify. So you made it open. Those are the type of things we are talking about. Then at the end of the questionnaire, you must say thanks for your time, right? You must be polite, at least be pleased. Gratitude, that is the gratitude we are talking about here. You must always learn how to show gratitude. You say thanks for your time. So when you are done, you distribute it to your peers. Then they will help you to respond to it. Thereafter, you collect it back and do your analysis, right? How will you do your analysis? For example, if you said, will you be interested in buying my pancake or buy pancake as the case may be? Let's say you distributed it to 20 people, right? Perhaps 5 people say yes and 15 people say no. So how will you analyze that? It's easy, right? 5 say yes, then 15 say no. I want you to represent it in form of percentage. Okay, let's do it like this. Let me explain it in another form. Let's assume that you design 30 questionnaires or 20, right? That 20, you distributed it, right? Now, when it is time for you to collect it back, 2 students were absent or they didn't respond. Now you were able to collect back 18, right? Okay. So out of that 18, let's say 10 people say they're going to be interested. 8 people say they're not going to be interested. So for you to analyze that statistically is very easy. Okay. How many questions, because the questions are there that you need to respond to. I'm not talking about the questions here. The questions in the I said. How many questionnaires were distributed? Right? It's part of the question. You will, what you're gonna write there, you say 20, for example. You've answered that. If that question is 3 months, you've already got 3 months there. Then they say how many were received. You put it there. What is the percentage? If they ask you to work out the percentage that was distributed, received, right? Then the numbers you received divided by the numbers that you distributed times 100. It's going to give you the percentage. You are in engineering, you know what I'm talking about, right? You work out the percentage, right? So now, if 10 people say yes, they're going to be interested. Hello, focus, because this aspect I'm explaining is very sensitive. Because this is where students of management they backfire. Because I know when it comes to calculation, they run this, they are a little bit shaky, right? Because this is the most critical, sensitive aspect based on my experience from the past 5 years. When it comes to calculations, most students they don't do it correctly, right? Some people skip it, and if you skip that aspect, your mark gonna be very low. So they ask you to work out the percentage of the positive response. That is how it is in the question. The positive response. How many positive response you got? You say 10, right? Then 10 over 18 times 100. Then you work out the percentage. How many percentage negative or negative response that you got? It's the same. The ones that say no, you count the numbers. Then you base it over the number that you distributed. Then you say times 100. Then you get the percentage. You are done with that. Right. Now, if they ask you to write a report, from your own interpretation, you can be able to see whether they are in your businesses, whether they will be interested, of course. Because if 10 people out of 18 say they're going to be interested in buying from you, you can easily make an informed decision that this business, as far as you are concerned, based on the data you collected, because that is evidence based, that they are interested in buying from you. That is how it is clear, it's done. So it's not difficult. Right. Any question relating to your asset, please ask, because remember I told you asset is very, very important. If you fail asset, if you got, let's say, 49%, you will not be eligible to write the exam. You will not sit for the exam. You're going to wait till next year. So it's very important. The earlier you start working on it, the better. Don't come to me at the 11th hour. You know what I mean by 11th hour, right? When things are already, the table is already set, the menu is set for the guests to start eating, then you start coming to give me problem here, right? If you have problem now, let's iron it out and solve it, right? And don't shy away, because it's dangerous. Shying away is dangerous as far as the asset is concerned. And I see that most of you, you don't attend classes. On that day of the exam, you see all of them will rock up. The, the class will be full. Huh? Then I will start wondering, where are this one coming from? And those are the ones that are bringing down my percentage pass rate. Because they will come here, they don't know what to write, and the result going to be poor. You know, since I started, this year have been my most poorest result ever. If I had started like this when I started working here 2010, I could have lost my job. The result is very poor. How many of you pass? Very poor. Only a few people. How many questions? That is a very brilliant question, right? How many questions can you include? Not so much. If you can make it 10 questions. Those are the type of questions you should pose to me. Uh, I see you. Uh, don't be don't be suffering in silence. If you don't know, you must ask. Yeah, you know, it's dangerous to be suffering in silence. Yeah, that is the devil. It's devil. You see, we are here to kick out the devil. You mustn't give room to the devil. When the devil see you, the devil must flee, must run away. And on a more serious note, if you are a child of God, the devil cannot come near you. Kick the devil. You see? Ask questions. Have you identified the three businesses in your community? How many of you have done that? They haven't. It's dangerous. You see, very dangerous. Because me, I know this asset is not easy. Not that it's difficult, but it involves a lot of work. A lot of work. The earlier, the better. You know, this asset, on the positive side of it, to motivate you, you can get 90%, 95%. There was a year, my student, what I can tell you, the least mark was 76%. Hey, those days we used to have students that were very serious. 76. All of them shine. You see? Now, these days, I don't know what is happening. So, I want you to be like those ones that were very determined. I know you can make it, right? That is why I said this thief of this procrastination, which is the thief of time, that is stealing your time, you must put it off. Right. That time there was no WhatsApp. Maybe it's WhatsApp that is stealing your time. There was no WhatsApp that time. The only thing we had that time was miss it. You know, miss it. You were very small that time. They miss it. They will take their phone and be playing like this. And that thing kills a lot of time. You know, watching social media, right, is very dangerous as well. You know, personally, me, sometimes I say I'm not going to watch TV. I will only listen to news. And once the news is off, I get a certain period of time. Then I say, I'm not going to start. Because you can sit by the TV, you watch it, it can take you a whole day. You can take your laptop, you start playing around. You will not get tired. A whole day, and you will waste a whole day for that. You just have to make yourself disciplined. Well, I've got important things to deliver. I've got deadlines, encroaching. I don't play around. I make sure I deliver. Who is this now? Eh? No, that one gave me a sad news this morning. Eh? I was expecting that man. You see, that is why again you must always follow up your stuff. If I had followed it up long time ago, they could have been able to capture it for me. I didn't follow it up. I was expecting because previous time I didn't follow it up and I got it on time. Yeah. Yeah, I procrastinated. Because I was saying, let me, long time ago, my mind was telling me, make a follow up. I procrastinated it. Now look at what is happening. That is one of the consequences of procrastination, right? It's one of the consequences of procrastination. Hello, any question? Why you don't have a question? You got all the answers. Hey, I love that. I'm loving it. I wish every one of you here got all the answers to the questions. Right. All right. Yeah.